Look, anytime you want to give a scene that I'm in 4 roses, feel free. Welcome back to Talkville, folks, the ultimate Smallville rewatch podcast. We are halfway through season 4, and, it's good to see you, Ryan. Good to see you, Thomas.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, guys.
Thank you for all the support of the show. Without you guys, couldn't do it. Patreon. If you want to join Patreon and get back to the show, patreon.com/Talkville. And again, you guys make the show. You want the show to continue. Thanks for your help. It means everything. Follow us on our handles, write a review, get other people to watch. All that helps. Writing a review really helps. And we've got some good stuff today. We've got some good questions today. Leave messages on the hotline and make sure you leave them ahead of time, way ahead of time, because people call in and they get their messages in. We try to mix it up. But so, yes. And there's a lot of cool new perks with Patreon. If you want to be a top tier, it's certainly worth it. Without further ado, let's get into season 4, episode 10. This is called Scare. Title Scare aired December 1st, 2004. David Carson directed it. Kelly Souders and Brian Peterson, love them, writers. Malcolm Stewart as Dr. Otis Ford. Jerry Wasserman as Dr. Jaeger Scanlon. I love how they come up with these names. I'm sure it was in the comic books or some shit. Samantha Ferris as Warden Stone.
Does anyone mind if I already call Ryan's favorite scene?
No, don't do it now. You can't do it that early. Did you do your scenes?
Yeah.
All right. When a secret Luthor Corp experiment goes viral, the town of Smallville comes face to face with their deepest fears, insecurities, and eventually death. This episode of Smallville opens up with Clark in his loft late night being interrupted by Red High Heels Lana. She tells him she made a mistake with Jason, and out of nowhere, it seems like the honeymoon phase is over, and Lana's now creeped out by him, following her to Smallville and her school. The icing on this dream cake is when Lana says she should have never given up on old Clark Kent, and they begin playing tonsil hockey.
However,
Jason interrupts the whole thing. He interrupts, guys. Pulls Clark away, starts beating the crap out of him. Lana steps in and stabs him with scissors. That's the way to do it. This sends him falling off the second story of the loft towards the ground. However, instead of the barn floor, he somehow crashes through a table inside the Talon and shocks everyone inside. Tom, any memories with this?
Nope.
Well, what did you think of this first scene?
Cool.
Ryan?
Tom has no memories. Remove it. What did I think? Well, I knew it wasn't real.
One of the things about... Sorry, Ryan. I don't mean to interrupt.
I'm more interested in what
one of the things about this is I don't remember what... I've talked before that scenes that happen in certain locations tend to be that day's location. So we probably shot everything that happened in the barn that day, that time. How that lays into the episode is sometimes unclear while you're trying to catch up and do your thing. So you just play it for what it is and you try to be in the moment.
Wait a minute. This wasn't a dream, though. Was it? No, this was real. This happened because he falls out.
Well, that really happened. Him falling and hitting the tables, yes. But just, no,
the scene with Lana and Clark?
Yeah, the high heels and the red stuff.
That was a dream, Tom?
Yeah.
Right. Jason's vision.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I was trying to piece it together. I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, okay. All right, well, Jason gets checked into the hospital, and we see Lana distraught by his bedside. Clark and Chloe go to pay a visit and learn that the doctors have diagnosed Jason with a severe nightmare, much more dangerous than normal nightmares.
That's a crazy episode trying to keep track of stuff.
I know. His heart rate won't go down. They fear further cardiac complications. Clark and Chloe head to the Talon to retrieve Jason's insurance card for Lana. Inside, Chloe pokes at Clark for not being over Lana and then goes on to snoop through Jason's belongings, finding that he took a meeting at Luthor Corp earlier in the day. There it was. This whole intro, I was unsure. I was a little surprised by the episode. I thought I would probably hate it. And but there's a lot of good stuff in here. There's some good stuff, and it was entertaining. And the jealousy with Jason, and I think there's a lot of jealousy with Clark, don't you?
Yeah, but it didn't come up here. They kept them separated a little bit. In the next episode, you might see a little bit more. But what I think is everywhere Lex goes, everyone gets infected. Did you guys track that? I don't know if that was on purpose or not. But like Lex is at the labs, people get infected. Lex goes to the hospital, more people get infected. I think that the infection is on Lex's like coattails as he passes it around.
I think it all happens in the lab though, right? It all happens.
Yeah, but then you go to the hospital and you get Clark infected because he only talks to you. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Did you catch that, Ryan?
I didn't think about it like that.
I didn't think about it like that either.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tom's wrong. Hot on the case, they head to Luthor Corp. Conveniently amongst the massive compound, Clark bumps into Lex, who is very irate with Clark in a restricted area. He tells Clark that he was setting Jason up with some interviews because he felt guilty for getting him canned. And then Clark explains the severe nightmares and wants to meet with Luthor Corp HR department next. Elsewhere in Luthor Corp, we see Chloe creeping around a dark room and stumbling into a brightly lit room.
This is nuts.
With a woman sitting alone in a chair in a straitjacket. This was cool. This was dark.
I thought you might like this one.
This was definitely very like, oh man, what is Lex up to? Or what is his father up to?
No, it's Lex. What is Lex up to?
I don't know.
No one's worried about Lionel right now.
I don't know. I don't throw blame at Lex just yet. The woman begins whispering to her, saying she's been waiting and that Chloe can't escape this fate. Chloe believes it's her mother who abandoned their family. She reaches out, and what turns around is a straight out of a horror film, a black contact lenses, messed up lips, and disturbed-looking version of herself. Now, this is when most of this is practical. So this was makeup. You're not, they're not doing this in post, which I like. I like that. She looked pretty messed up. And I always think of myself like, it's like she probably didn't have to work, but just that 1-2 hours worth of makeup, turn around in a chair, and that's it.
I disagree. Again, going back on my location is the day of most likely what they did is they shot the whole scene, maybe another day, or maybe it's 2 hours because Lana has it too, where she comes out in full makeup. And that's a 2-hour thing.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they probably shoot all her stuff without all that big makeup because it makes her, bad for her face. And at the end, she does that one shot. They go, all right, go get her made up. We'll shoot this while you're gone. She'll come back. We'll shoot it. That's sort of how it is. Back in Luthor Corp, we see why Lex is so irate. He's getting the lowdown from his team on one of his labs exploding. We learn that this testing in particular was a part of a secret military contract that Lionel Luthor arranged. However, Lex wants the Oogie Boogie project shut down once it's contained. I thought this was cool. I thought this was like, we're in Lex's world now. We're seeing people sick, die perhaps, and he has no control over any of it.
Well, he's taking control for the safety of everyone else. This is Lex as a hero. That's what I saw.
Yeah, I saw that too. I felt like he was like, my men are dying in there. Instead of like his father, we need to cover this up immediately. So that was good to see Lex in that fashion. Just when you think all these things about Lex and, he's doing some things that are a little bit shady, he actually has a soul. He actually has heart, and he doesn't want to see people die. And so I like that. Clark heads back home and discusses the spread of this new deadly lab leak disease with his parents. Lana interrupts them. She's upset because other people who also have this spooky disease are beginning to die. And next, we see potentially the most absurd scene yet in Smallville, folks.
Well, can I go back 1 second? Just real quick. It was always really fun for me when I was with Martha and Jonathan and Lana was in a scene. Because we talk so much about Clark's relationship with her. And then when she's there, same thing with Lex, to be honest. When Lex comes into the kitchen, it's always a different dynamic between even us as actors. It's like it changes the dilemma.
It's uncomfortable in a way.
It's so fun, though. It's so much fun.
It is. It definitely is. It just mixes it up. I like when it gets mixed up because when you're used to doing scenes with Lionel Luthor all the time or Clark, then when you bring in these other characters that Lex doesn't interact with a lot, or Clark doesn't interact with a lot, or any of the characters, it just creates a different dynamic, and you see their personalities kind of come into play.
Meld in a way. Yeah.
The prison warden pays a visit to Lionel and lets him know that his conviction has been overturned by an anonymous person with power greater than his.
She was great. She dropped a big on him, which I thought was great. And nobody writes uh-huhs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, never in a script do you see a character say, uh-huh. And there's one point she goes, uh-huh. And then she reaches for the file and hands it to him. I just thought she did a great job.
Yeah, it was really good. It was like for all those moments, well, I'll just read this part. Lionel objects and says he belongs in prison because he's done a lot of wrong and he believes he can carry out his life's mission behind bars. And for the first time, I, as a viewer, am going, maybe he is good. Maybe Lionel is good. I mean, he wants to stay in prison. So if he's going to try and stay in prison, he's scared of himself. He's scared of his actions. And he thinks he's better off behind bars where people will be safer without him. So I think that was a good thing to do for the writers, for the show, and to make you believe that, hey, he is a changed man. And maybe, just maybe.
And Glover pulls it off.
Yeah.
There's a scene later, which I want to dissect, which is so brilliant between you and him, but that's later on.
Lana and Clark head to the Torch to try and save their friends. While Lana is realizing why Jason's behavior may have been different lately, they notice strange cloud movement while reviewing weather patterns over Kansas. Before they can spring into action, Lana starts to hallucinate. She sees flashing lights and all of a sudden wakes up in a body bag in a room surrounded by the dead bodies of all her family members. She gets sent over the edge when she sees a corpse version of herself, warning that everyone will leave her, sending Lana into a shrieking nightmare spiral.
I thought this was great. I thought they did a great job cinematically of putting you in the moment as a viewer of not knowing if what you're watching is real or not.
Yeah.
Until they want you to. I thought they did a great job. Like 4 times in this episode, they did it. It was great.
Ryan, were you enjoying this episode so far?
Yeah.
You were?
Yeah.
Because you'd be one to say
so.
you weren't.
Yeah. Yeah, I was skeptical at first, but I think it's with all the like little visions, like they took like a visually interesting turn, which I think they probably had a lot of fun recreating and making, like with Chloe's thing and Lana's thing, and like there's a couple more that come up later. Yeah.
Well, look what you're doing here. You're making the audience believe that Lionel is a good person now, a changed person. You're seeing Lex act a certain way toward being, trying to help people. It's a different dynamic. It's not one we're used to. So I thought it was really interesting. I'm always about character and development and evolution. And so when you're not doing Freak of the Week stuff as much, you get me involved a little more as an audience member.
This isn't a flashback episode. Flashbacks are simpler than alternate reality episodes. I only think like if I had directed this episode, how difficult it would have been to like make that line between what the viewers think is happening, what's not happening.
Yeah,
it's very difficult. This is a very difficult episode to direct.
Yeah,
so,
good job.
At
Luthor Corp, Lex gets an update from Dr. Ford that the antidote is ready to be used. However, it has never been tested on humans. Lex decides to accompany Dr. Ford into the contaminated area to administer the antidote. They inject one of the affected employees. Initially, his heart rate subsides, but then it spikes back up. He goes into cardiac arrest. In the scuffle, Lex gets pushed and fears he is exposed to the toxin. I don't really remember a lot of this. I remember it was just, I'm dealing with a lot of actors I haven't worked with and talking to people and trying to just be in charge. Just remember, I am in control here. I am Lex Luthor. You aren't. You will listen to me. Give me answers or you're gone. So I remember that. It definitely had a cool sci-fi effect.
Well, the great thing of how written this is and how the actor sort of responds to you is every time you take control, he gives you another option.
Yeah.
Which is like kind of takes your swords away. You're like, I want this to happen. He goes, yeah, but we should do this. And you're like, yeah, but this is what I want. He goes, yeah, but we should do this. I thought it was good tension.
Yeah. Lex leaves Luthor Corp to visit Smallville Medical and sees the place overrun with sick patients exhibiting the same severe nightmares. He talks to the same doctor who witnessed a man come back to life. So this is a walk in the park for him. As Lex is explaining the situation to the doctor, Clark walks in carrying Lana and pleading for help. After getting her help, he turns his frustrations to Lex, upset that he didn't disclose this information earlier when they met, which is understandable. Their conversation gets interrupted by a meteor shower as the hospital begins getting lit up with flaming rock falling from the sky. I thought this was really cool. Clark goes to save Lana. Lana has a sudden realization that Clark came down from the meteor shower and is freaked out by his alien ways. Clark now has the boogeyman disorder. However, he's not bedridden after he wakes up. Tom, any memories of this set? Any practical effects they used? This was badass. Like had a sort of a War of the Worlds kind of thing to it.
I do recall it was shot out of sequence, and I do recall we shot the practical stuff first, and then we shot the reaction stuff second. And I remember thinking, like, you just have to play the scene. You have to play what's in front of you. You can't think about. You have to visualize what the meteors look like and this and that in the aftermath because you haven't seen it yet, and you won't see it because it's only in a finished product of the episode. And so it's sort of like a teaching element of like play your scene. Play your scene. Play the scene.
It's also hard. I have to make, when I direct, I make notes of transitions, and like transitions to me are very important. Like, where are you coming from? It's not about just directing this scene with these two actors, but where are they coming from? How heated were they? How emotional were they? What were they doing before this scene? So when you jump to this next scene, it makes sense. And wait, why is he that calm? Why is he? You have to be on your toes with a lot of moving parts. Clark leaves the hospital, heads home to his parents. He finds his father next to another spilled plate of cookies and his mother knocked out in the kitchen. Instead of rushing them to the hospital, he super speeds back to Luthor Corp, bypasses security, and is desperate for a solution to save his family and friends. Searching for solutions, Clark tells Lex to use him, which is a big moment.
We don't think Clark should have showed up at the hospital with his mom on the left and Danny on his right.
Remember, he's going there so quick because he's like, the hospital can't help these people. They can't help these people, so it's Lex. I know it's Lex.
All right.
Lex denies the offer and tells Clark they need to wait for the next batch of antidotes to heat up so they can test it again. And as Lex talks with Dr. Ford, Clark uses heat vision to heat the antidotes. Everyone's pretty sure
again,
Clark
Ryan,
has something
I got
to
to
do
go
with
to you. As a scientist, if you're heating something up to a certain degree at a certain threshold, can you just turn it up like a shower? You can't just turn it up, right? It doesn't work like that.
This is TV.
Look, as a scientist, speaking as a
scientist, Ryan.
As a scientist
Ryan-tist.
in this moment, that's right.
Ryan-tist.
He's a Ryan-tist.
Not a scientist.
Can we have a t-shirt that says
no
Ryan-tist?
I did not do well in chemistry. I do not know these things.
I didn't take it.
You didn't take it? How?
You can't measure in Kelvin?
Also, yeah, with the confidence with which you said it needs to reach a certain level of Kelvin was very impressive, I thought.
Thank you.
That's a very specific scientific temperature, I think.
As Lex talks with Dr. Ford, Clark uses the heat vision. Everyone is pretty sure Clark had something to do with it, but says nothing. Instead, Lex loads up the antidote, shoots himself up. This sends Lex into a dream state. We see him once again as the white suit president, like season 1 Hourglass. His fantasy seems to be a total world annihilation as rockets cover the globe. Lex wakes from his dream and Dr. Ford claims that it has worked. The day has been saved. I let it go with the antidotes. I thought it was kind of cheesy and it was like, oh, they got to heat him up and he's using the heat vision. But I don't think anybody would like, why? How could Clark do it? They're just somehow heating up. I don't know. And I don't know why they didn't just use a microwave. We leave one white suit Luthor and see another one as Lionel is strutting his stuff walking out of prison. Awaiting his arrival in a car outside is the anonymous accomplice, but we cannot see who she or he is, but we know who it is.
I don't know who it is. I'm dying to know. Do you know who it is?
It's got to be.
I'm not joking.
It's got to be Jason's mom in the limo, right?
I literally don't know.
And someone who has more money and more power than him.
What if it's just God?
The Kents return back home healthy. They discuss Clark being willing to risk his secret to save the world, which is apropos. He shares that after his nightmare, he feels like he can never tell Lana the truth. His parents reassure him that even if he can't share with Lana, that someday there will be someone he can tell. And next we see Lana visiting Jason in the Talon loft. She's surprised to see him packing up his things, preparing to leave town. With his tail between his legs, Jason tries explaining how he doesn't like who he's becoming. Unable to tell her the truth, he gives her a peck goodbye.
Jensen did a great job here, dude. There's like 4 scenes in a row in this episode and the next where he has to play this. And it tracks great. He tracks this all very well.
Yeah, I forgot how good he was. I guess because I didn't see it. I was like, I didn't know, but he did a great job.
Yeah. And those are so, it would be so easy to just be like.
Walk through it. I've seen actors walk through shit.
I feel sorry for myself. No, Jensen does a great job. He should have his own TV show.
Oh yeah. Over in the Torch, Chloe is worked up over the whole situation, pissed off that everyone's moving on with business as usual without any further research or repercussions. Chloe opens up about seeing her mother and shares fears for her mother's hereditary mental issues. The episode ends with Chloe unknowingly relating with Clark on the burden of keeping a secret and the relief of being able to share it with someone. How ironic. Sweet. Don't you think? Talkville is brought to you by AG1. Tom and I talk about this all the time. We don't go without it. We take it every day. It's so easy to get so many vitamins and minerals and prebiotics and probiotics all in one glass of water mixed in with one scoop of AG1. It's that easy. I don't take all these supplements anymore. I'm taking AG1, one glass every day. Tommy?
I mean, listen, I purchased this on my own. You know, after we got our little sample, I take it. We were just recently together and we saw our friend Donovan taking it. I feel better when I take it. It's so simple. It's so easy. And it's just great.
Yeah. I just feel, I feel like I'm ready for the day. You know, my mindset, my energy, it's just, I feel like, you know, we talked to one listener and he said, you know, I stopped taking it and I felt the effects. I had to start taking it again because he noticed what a difference it does make. You know, you're just getting nutrients and the things you need, especially if you exercise or maybe you're too sedentary. Maybe you're sitting around too much. I mean, if you're not doing anything, at least have a little AG1 in the morning to get you going. If there's one product I had to recommend to elevate your health, it's AG1, and that's why we've partnered with them for so long. So if you want to take ownership of your health, start with AG1.
The thing is, with AG1, I know that I'm getting help with essential brain, gut, and immune health with vitamins, probiotics, nutrients, and whole foods, which I know you love as well.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. In fact, we were on a plane and I'm sitting behind Tom and he just looks behind him and he's got his travel packs with him. He's like, check it out, buddy. I'm like, yeah, you're a nerd, but a smart nerd. Aren't most nerds smart? Again, it's just a glass of water and one scoop of AG1. Mix it thoroughly. Done. Start a good, healthy routine with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/talkville. That's drinkag1.com/talkville. Check it out. Talkville is brought to you by Goodchop. We talk about Goodchop constantly because they should be called Great Chop. Because they are absolutely fantastic. The food you're getting, the meats you're getting, or seafood are top quality, top notch. Goodchop offers fully customizable boxes of high quality meat and seafood delivered to your door on your schedule. Tom, tell us about all the things you can get at Goodchop.
You can choose from 75 high quality cuts, 100% grass-fed ribeyes, USDA prime rib filet mignon, free-range and organic chicken breast, pork tenderloin, and thick-cut bacon, just to name a few. And the bacon is money.
Yes, it is absolutely spectacular. They also offer sustainable and wild-caught seafood, salmon, Pacific cod, scallops, shrimp, and more. And unlike many other companies, Goodchop sources its meat and seafood exclusively from American farms and fisheries, so you can support local family farms and independent ranchers right here in the U.S. And the most important thing, besides awesome taste, is it's not going to cost you a fortune.
Goodchop's price per meal starts literally at just $3.74.
Isn't that something else? A meal at Goodchop is $3.74. Do you know how much money I blow on delivery services for food? And yet I'm using these guys Goodchop and they have such amazing quality meats. I've been wasting money. Now it's time to get the real stuff, the good stuff. And Goodchop's so confident in the quality of their cuts, guys. They offer 100% money back guarantee. If you love Goodchop, great. Or you get your money back. Putting their money where their mouth is. or their meats where their mouth is. Go to goodchop.com/talkville120. Use code talkville120 to get $120 off across your first 4 boxes. That's code at talkville120 at goodchop.com/talkville120 for $120 off. goodchop.com/talkville120, code talkville120. Highlights and lowlights. Do you think it's silly how convenient it is for Lionel to get out of jail compared to the buildup of finding his crimes and getting convicted?
No, I absolutely loved it. It speeds things up. What was he going to do? Just sit there? Like, as a viewer, I was like, yes, he's out. He doesn't even know why.
Yeah.
This is great. This is good stuff. This is good stuff.
What do you think, Ryan?
If we know how easy it is, for the 1% to get away with anything, yeah,
And that's
he's in
true.
and out of jail in a heartbeat, and like nothing happened.
Scariest episode of Smallville so far?
Oh yeah,
You think? Maybe.
You weren't scared by the witches?
Oh, boy.
oh that's close second.
Ooh, God, let's not get into that one. I'm about to ruin my day again. Interesting things of note. On the season 4 DVD set, there is an alternate dream sequence for Lex in which he dreams that he is about to get married. It is then revealed that the person he is about to marry is actually his mother, who starts to blame Lex for his brother's death and warns him that he is on a path to destruction. Lex responds furiously by strangling his mother before being woken up by Clark.
Wait, do you remember shooting that? Do you remember shooting that alternate scene?
I vaguely.
Like, was there an actress? You're like, oh, you're my mother. Was it the mother?
Yeah,
from
it
the
was the
Flashbacks?
same actress who played my mother, Lillian, I believe. What was the actress's name? But I do vaguely remember that. There's something that makes me think of that when I was choking her, but I don't know. I could be wrong. The same scenes of the nuclear strike.
Your Honor.
The same scenes of the nuclear strike can be viewed in Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines. Wendy Melaskas and Ben Oddberg reprised their roles as Lewis and Laura Lang for Lana's hallucination. They were last seen in the pilot episode.
I thought there was, what I think is Ryan's favorite scene, I'm going to say it. When everything's going off and Lex is looking around and the look on your face, and I saw that Lex saw the beauty in the annihilation and destruction, kind of like what they did in Thanos in the Marvel thing of like, we have to destroy everything to make things better. I saw that, like even that turn you had, it was just such peace in the beauty of destruction, which is terrifying.
It was pretty terrifying. It was also kind of, it was like that other, because you had another white suit vision a couple seasons ago, I think.
It was an hourglass, I think.
Yeah.
It was the same sort of thing.
Weren't you also standing in like a field of wheat that had been...
Yeah. A field of flowers.
Yeah, yeah.
Daisies or whatever. What are those big sunflowers?
Sunflowers, yeah.
And they turned to death. They all died. And there's skulls around and all that.
I thought that scene was a gift to this episode.
Yeah, it was
which
nice.
is why I think it's Ryan's. If this is not Ryan's favorite scene, then I don't know what Ryan's.
I
doing.
wish they had. You got to stick to what yours was, by the way. Don't say anything.
Yeah,
but
I'm
I
sure
wish
he
they
checked it or started.
I wish they would have done more with flashbacks of the future of Lex, and like those were
flashbacks of the future.
No, sorry, flashbacks, and then also flash forwards of the future of Lex. Those really worked, and they weren't used enough. They started using them in later seasons, but I always like that. It shows you. It gives you the fear of like who he becomes and like, but at the same time, his journey, how to get there, and it makes you feel sorry for him from where he's come from. All right, now it is time for the hotline. We are ready for the hotline. Your questions. We love your questions. Sometimes we don't answer them like maybe you want, or we don't get into them too deep because we don't either remember or whatever, but we appreciate them and keep asking us questions.
Or sometimes we answer them in the podcast.
Exactly. That's exactly
sometimes.
Right. So we're going to start out with patron privilege. If you want to become a top tier, go to patreon.com/talkville and become one. There's so many more perks coming up, and it's really exciting stuff. So thank you, family of patrons, for the support. Here we go. This is Shannon Fofanen, who we love. Shannon Fofanen. Let's hear what she has to say.
Hey everyone, this is Shannon Fofan and wanted to talk about the episode Scare in season 4, specifically Lex's nightmare when he is president and there's an apocalyptic scene, which, fun fact, is from the movie Terminator Rise of the Machines. Didn't know if you guys knew that, wanted to share, thought it was fun. Thanks for everything. Have a good one.
Amerigo, what you got for us? Yeah, I love that scene. I love it. Like we talked about that. I love when we go in the flashbacks.
Hey, it's patron Medico Garcia from Edinburgh, Texas. Why are they wearing those protective suits if the bacteria can't be transmitted person to person? And secondly, they said it's a bacteria, but then they also say that it's a toxin instead, in addition to that. Anyway, I thought that was interesting.
I don't know. I don't follow that stuff, but you have to suspend a little bit of disbelief.
I mean, you can liken that to the early days of COVID when we didn't know what the fuck was going
that's
on.
True.
We did everything. We tried it all, and it turns out masks were the thing. But like the early days were like Purell, and it turns out it was not Purell, it was masks.
You're right, Ryan. But Amerigo, good question.
We
Thank
learn.
you.
Science is about learning.
Science is about learning. Ryantist, the Ryantist.
That's right.
Billy.
Hey, it's Billy from LA, and I'll pose this question to the group. Saint Lionel tells the warden that he's guilty, not for the crime he'd been in prison for, but so many other crimes. Since he confessed to his parents' murder to Chloe in the episode Truth, Lionel saying this has got to be a mistake in the script, right? Thanks, guys.
That is a good.
No. Bad question. Here's why.
Why?
It's not the warden's job. That is not the warden's job. The cop who arrests you doesn't care why you did what you did. That's up to the judge. The warden doesn't care what you did or why you're there. That's not his job. So when you confess to the warden, nothing.
But he confessed. He said he didn't do it.
Doesn't matter.
But it's might as well, if he's being so honest and it's the new Lionel Luthor, why wouldn't he just be honest?
Tell your lawyer to tell the judge. The warden doesn't care if you're... Look at how many prison TV shows and movies there are. The warden doesn't care why you're there or when you're leaving. You're under his supervision while you're there. That's the warden's job.
But remember, John or Lionel is giving her information about him and she doesn't care, but he's just going on. And to us, the audience, he's like, oh my God, he wants to stay in prison. He wants to stay, but I didn't commit that crime. And we're like, whoa, wait a minute. All he's saying is the things that he's confessing up to, he's actually not being honest, is he?
Maybe that's his genius.
Maybe. That makes me think less of him, though. Natalie
Costco.
Hi, this is Natalie. I've got a question for season 4, episode Scare. At the end of the episode, we hear Chloe saying, if you can't tell your best friend, who can you tell? And Tom, we get a shot of you. Just wondering if you had the same thought that I did in the moment of shooting that scene. My brain instantly went to, but he did. He told Pete, and because of that, he lost Pete. Just wanted to know if you thought the same thing when you were acting in the scene. Thanks.
Wow. Chloe says to you, when you can confide in someone and tell your best friend and everything, it feels good. But you're thinking, she's saying, were you wondering about that? Because is that true? Because you told Pete and look what happened to Pete. It kind of ended up him moving away. And that was kind of because he knew too much. And in a way, even though his folks were moving or whatever, but you know what I mean? So Pete, like you can't confide in your best friends is what she's saying, because you try with Pete and that was problematic.
Well, it's sort of like if you give people information, then they may or may not be complicit in whatever you're up to. That's a legal thing, and that's also a relationship thing.
All right, John.
I mean, that's a horrible answer, but the reality is you're trying to protect your friends from the information that is burdening you.
Hey, Michael and Tom. This is John from Yorktown, New York. My question for Tom. Tom and Clark's nightmare sequence.
From the New York
was
Times?
Awesome. Could you tell me that day of the shoot? Thanks, guys.
No, because all the meteor shower stuff, when I watched it just now, or 3 days ago on the plane from London to get here, I was like, what's this meteor shower? What's happening? I didn't recall any of it. And a lot of it's because in the scene that I was in, you don't see those things. You're just acting like you can see them. And so I didn't really see it.
That happens
to be
a lot.
honest.
That happens more now, doesn't it, Ryan? Where it's all CGI, all green screen or blue screen.
Well, when you did Ryan's favorite scene this episode, and you're looking around and everything's shooting, like you didn't see that.
We'll see. Brad, this is Brad.
The scene was almost like they had a different VFX company on it. Like I feel like it looked so different than anything else you should have done. Like it looked really good.
It did.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It was a good looking scene.
Yeah, it was. It did.
Well, in visual effects, there's a big difference between $20,000 and $40,000. Like, I've been in meetings, like as a director, where they're like, "Here's what we're gonna do," and the visual effects guy's like, "Well, that's X amount of money," and if you double it, you get 5 times the amount of what you want. It's like and at the beginning of Smallville, we were right at that, I don't know, that place where it was meeting television, and it was like, what we did in season 2 or 3 was like nothing in season 7. Like, it was like, oh, we'll do that for free. Like, doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, I think technology evolved, and also they try to, not have to deal with all the costs, and how do we do this more and more effectively instead of throwing so much money in. Now they're like, all right, well, now we're paying the actors a little more. Everybody's getting paid a little more. Our budget's lower. We've got to so they got cheaper places to, because I guess the other guy who started out, I can't remember his name, he was great, but he was really expensive. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. A lot of us wish we had more time, but time for what? If time was unlimited, how would you use it? The best way to squeeze that special thing into your schedule is to know what's important to you and make it a priority. Therapy can help you find what matters to you, so you could do more of it. It's helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself, and it isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. Therapy can help everyone be the best they can be. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Learn to make time for what makes you happy with BetterHelp.
Visit betterhelp.com/talkville today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/talkville.
Here's Brad.
Hey, this is Brad from South Carolina. Did you notice Lex's nightmare used the same footage from Cassandra's vision of his future in season 1's Hourglass? Does that mean his worst fear will come true ultimately? Thanks.
I guess so. I guess his worst fear will come true. And I wish they would have. I don't like seeing redundant footage like that we filmed. And I think they could have taken a day and filmed me doing a couple of other things that the show hadn't seen. Even though it was cool and everybody liked it, I would have liked at least another scene instead of using those old flashbacks.
I let me say this. The difference between Lex's flashback and everybody else's flashbacks is everybody else in their flashbacks, they were seen to be terrified and not agree with what they were seeing. Lex was very at peace at seeing nuclear warheads flying around. You never saw Lex in his flashback, or whatever you want to call it, be upset.
I don't think he was like at peace with that. I just think it was like, oh my God. And he didn't really, he doesn't emote, if you will, as much as a lot of people. And he didn't let it get to him. But, I would have liked to see him like, oh my God, what am I seeing? I would have liked to seen a little devastation in him. Like, it would have just added to character. But Tatiana.
Hi, this is Tatiana from Utah, and I just wanted to comment that the first few minutes of the episode, the opening, it felt very soap opera-y in the way you guys were acting it, and I was just wondering how the direction comes to you. Like, is it written that way? Like, just, you act really over the top, or do the directors, like, what's the type of communication that they give you?
I don't think we try to act like soap opera actors. That's definitely not something we strive for.
Well, just with the opening scene.
Right, the opening. No, yeah. I'm not taking offense to it, but the way it's shot sometimes, the way it's directed, the way it's written, sometimes it could just appear that way depending on the camera angle. And like you could watch a scary movie and it's great because it's the cinematography is just really wonderful and it keeps you in and keeps it grounded. And then other directors might use shots that kind of camp it up a bit inadvertently. So I don't think it was directly intentional, but that's just the way it kind of happened.
I think there's and hopefully you're gifted with a director who also can do this, where when you're working with visual effects that you don't see and you don't know, and you weren't in the tone meeting or the visual effects meeting or what's going to be there, who can walk you through and who can speak you through sounds ridiculous, but they can say things like, and then the meter comes and then you're this, and they that's helpful because you don't actually see those things on set. So a vocal director who can describe what the character's seeing could be helpful, I guess is what I'm saying.
Hey, this is Patrick from Delaware calling for episode 10, Scare. I'm a therapist that believes that facing your fears is an opportunity for change and growth. How do you see your characters changing or growing this episode?
I think that Lex grows in this episode because he could easily put the blame on someone else. He could easily contain the situation, the problem, and not let it get out and let people die. But he takes the higher road, and he wants to save people and the people that he works with, and he cares. And so we see him make a choice, and life is about choices. And those choices can affect people negatively or positively. And they can be selfish choices. And I think this was an unselfish choice. And I think that shows growth in a character.
Now, looking back 2 days ago, watching this on the plane from London, I see Clark trying to understand that he can't control everything, but he can do what he can in the moment to help. And I think that's a big thing in humans. You can talk, look at Marcus Aurelius and everybody else you want to talk about, but you can't control everything. And most of the things we worry about don't ever come to fruition. And I see Clark here saying, okay, I can't just super speed out of this. What can I do in the moment? So I think it's bringing him back down to the moment, which I think is cool.
Caitlin, my international friends here. Do you think that Clark's obsession with Lana throughout the series is primarily due to his guilt over the death of her parents? Like maybe he's always trying to make it up to her somehow?
It never occurred to me playing the character. Never once.
Yeah, you don't start dating a girl and falling in love with her because you feel sorry for her, or you feel like you caused her inadvertent pain and it wasn't intentional. You just fell in love with her.
Great question. Don't get me wrong.
Great question.
But that was never something that Lana's, if anything, I respected Lana for her strength and her fortitude for her own character. I never felt sorry for Lana.
Yeah. Kristen C., although we see the nightmares of several characters in this episode, an underlying theme is those closest to Clark finding out about his secret. Lex's face tells it all in the lab when Clark offers himself up to be used to treat the afflicted patients. That is interesting because when he says, I'm willing to give myself, and it's like, wait a minute, do you think you have the cure in your blood? That never was I thought that was the next kind of question, but that never got there. It was just like, I'm willing to give myself up. And Lex is like, why? He never questioned him like, "What do you think you're the savior? Do you think that your blood is the?" We
already know that the needles can't penetrate his skin, so it was sort of a very sort of
like that movie I Am Legend.
Sacrifice.
He has the blood that will cure. I don't know. All right. Well, thank you for your questions and your fortitude. Rosenbaum ratings. I'm gonna think about this one real quick.
Rosenbaum rating.
Let's go with you first, Michael.
I'll give it a rose. Solid rose. Ryan?
I was going to go, and I will go with 1.5.
Rose and a half for Ryan. Tom?
I'm going to go with 1. However, there is a scene in here which I would like to give 3 roses to. And I think it's Ryan's favorite scene.
Oh, all right. Death and save count. How many people got saved? How many people croaked in Smallville? 2 dead. A patient at the Smallville Medical Center and a Luthor Corp employee died. 6 saved. There's a lot more, but the main characters we know were saved were Lex, Lana, Chloe, Jason, Martha, and Jonathan. Through 10 episodes, 7 dead, 22 saved. In the series, 99 died, 125 saved in just a few seasons of Smallville. And now it's time for Ryantist, the scientist, to write down his 3 scenes, and we will guess which one is his favorite. Here we go.
Okay, Tom, here's my first scene, Tom. All right, scene 1, Lana's nightmare. Scene 2.
What happens in Lana's nightmare again?
The one with the morgue.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's the first one.
Exactly what happens. Exactly.
That's the first one, Tom. And then scene 2 is Clark's nightmare with the meteors.
Nope.
Shit, I had it.
I'm on to him on this one.
And scene 3 was Lex's nightmare.
3.
It's 3. We foreshadowed it. Yeah, I mean, how could it not be?
You can't beat that in the history of the series, in the history of the whole Superman Lex Luthor mythos. That scene is so. I hear you. That's 4 roses.
Look, anytime you want to give a scene that I'm in 4 roses, feel free.
Well, no, it was because I think we talked about like the way it was played. It was like, do I want like, I don't know. It was like ambiguous whether or not you were happy with it too. It was like this is it's inevitable. You're like, I have the power, and now
I do think that it was a risky camera lens thing where when you turn around, it was like a 50 millimeter, and your nose went out to here. As you turn out this way, I was like, maybe you could have gone on a 50 instead of that. But anyway,
or maybe a 150. Crash the fucking. Anyway.
You don't need a 90 mil for that.
Yeah. Guys, that is it for this episode. Stick around next week. We got a very special guest for next week's episode, and I'm very excited. And we'll talk about season 4, episode 11. It's called Unsafe. And there's a lot to talk about in that episode. Bryce texts me and goes, "Did you see episode Unsafe? Wow." And I go, "You talking about the sex stuff?" He goes, "Yup." All right, let's take the discussion online. Let us know your thoughts on the episode over on our socials at Talkville Podcast or Talkville Pod. Show the support for the podcast by joining patreon.com/Talkville. Truly helps the show. And if you want it to keep going, join Patreon. And if you want more info like merch on the show or a hotline number, you can find all that in the description. Also, my Instagram at the Michael Rosenbaum, my link tree with cons that Tom and I are going to, Cameo, all that stuff and news. And make sure, if you will, watch, check out Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum, my other podcast where I interview a lot of people, and it's a lot of great stuff.
Mark Shepard. I can't wait for that one.
If you haven't seen that one, that's great. And a lot. So thank you for the support. Hopefully you'll support that podcast as well. And last but not least, my new product, Rosie's Puppy Fresh Breath. Check it out on Amazon. Woo! All right, we love you. And Tom, I'll let Ryan say it today. Ryan, say the infamous line.
Remember, folks, always hold on to Smallville.
We'll see you next week. All right, well, it's time to read our top tier patrons. Go to patreon.com/Talkville. If you want to support the podcast, we could use your love. We could use your support. Go there, become a patron. And if you hear little bells ringing, it's my dog's tags. It's Blanche. She's sitting down now. She's fine. All right, let's go for it. Nikki G, Leanne P, Raj C. Can I keep rhyming?
We were just talking about Raj. By the way, we were just talking about Raj.
We were talking about Raj.
Let's do this.
Santiago M, Little Lisa, Thomas the Leaf Blower, Shane W, Sophie M, Betsy D, Abby P, Ray Harada, Fatima T, Karen Apple M, 99 more, Leilani and Brett G. Always hold on to Smallville. Estevan G, Garrett W, Bob K, Kimberly L, Tom N, Jason W, Tom.
Osama A, Glinda, the Good Witch P, my favorite, Lana, Rams with Banana W, Nancy D, also my favorite, Ryan G, also my favorite, Sarah W, Vancouver Grips, Anna M, Amanda R, Teddy 127, Michael P, Ryan R, Jordan M, Randy B, Craig G, Heather and Greg, going back to DC. I made Talkville say buds. Brian H, Eric K, Kristen B, Nanine W, Stephanie K, Darth Achilles, Finky, Early is on time. Is it? Damn. Who's that? Jeanette E, Deadvid, General Zod, Theodore, Big D, Doug R, Carlos C, Ken the Limber Guy, Corey L, Mr. Home Arcade, Jesse C, Claire I gave Tom a Superman I. You're right. I still have it. Thank you. I do. D Brown, Karen Ira M, Jules M, Eldon Supremo, Leslie V, McBurts, Ginger Moose, please remember Janice from North Carolina. And
I do.
Christoph S., Michelle M., Drew, Michael Kine, doesn't blank.
Sebastian F., the W, Dak Flando. Yeah, Dak Flando, Matthew and Lincoln B., the Coopers, Marion Louise L., CGO, Cindy C., Nikki L., Shannon Fofanin, Tina E., Matt Rick, Jen T., Randy S., Cassie B., Brad A., Felicia R., Danny Mo, Marable L., JS, Rachel D., Gingerous Prime, and Nate D. When you're rich, you aren't crazy, you're eccentric. Chicken Flower, Sammy Sharman. Carrie Ann. Hey, Carrie Ann. Patrick R., the Alexander Castle, Daryl E., Charlene A., Lady L., Spicy Chicken, Jenny B., Anna B., Monica T., Tom is my Hal. That's my what? Tom is my Hall Pass.
Hal Pass.
Hal Pass.
Hal.
Green
Hal
Arrows
Pass.
G-String. Eric M., Jeffrey K., Tony K., Pip Kenobi, Katya C., previously on Smallville. Geneva D., Matt C., Deepro Sajal, and Devin, Chadwick B., Keith B., Chiru. We talked to Chiru. Major Paradox, the patron saint of Smallville, Libertariat. And that does it for the top tier patrons. Holy crap, man. Without your support, we couldn't do the show. Tom?
Thank you. Always your pleasure.
Yes, it's always my pleasure. We'll see you guys next week. Don't miss out. It's a good one.